Hello and welcome to Let's Review, the high school visual novel. It's a classic of the visual novel genre. I've played a few of them, and some of them were actually pretty decent. A lot of them were also dreck, but hey, I've played a lot of visual novels that are complete dreck. The university visual novel, on the other hand, that's far, far rarer. And I have no idea why, because at least with a university set game, you can be sure that all the characters are of age. Whatever the case, Ace Academy is one of this rare breed. But the question is, how does it fare as a game, and is it worth your time? Well, to answer that, we start as we always do, with the gameplay. As with a lot of visual novels, there is very little in the way of gameplay here. In this case, the only thing that I would describe as possible gameplay is that certain segments require you to make choices under a timed pressure. These are almost always related to the combat sequences that appear throughout the game, for reasons that I will explain in the story section. I'll be honest, this is not terribly complicated, but it does sort of work. And I appreciate why it's there. It does at least add a little bit of time pressure to certain things. Ultimately, though, I'd have preferred to see more complicated gameplay, especially given the potential of the ideas, but I can absolutely understand why it isn't here. So overall, I'd like to see more, but I understand why it isn't there, and that's fair enough. That, of course, naturally leads us on to the story. The story takes place in the city of Isukaze, home to Ace Academy, a Japanese university that is famous throughout the world for one specific course, one that everybody is desperate to get onto. Art history? No. Politics? No. And don't keep guessing because I'm just going to tell you. Ace Academy teaches mech piloting, along with related fields such as mech pilot healthcare and mech engineering. Because in this world, mech fights are a popular sporting event, and they have somehow taken over every aspect of popular culture. Well, to be fair, mechs are awesome, and that's using the word awesome in its correct dictionary use. True, but I'm not entirely sure they'd take over popular culture to the point where every film and TV show includes them, even if it does lead to some admittedly fantastic puns. In this world, these sporting events are fought between full-grade combat mechs, although they are in many ways your archetypal mechs, using melee weapons and guns to battle each other in an arena. Now, you get the impression from a lot of the dialogue that combat mechs are used by the military, but in sporting events they will only battle until a state referred to as depowered. So, not to the death, then. That is somewhat disappointing. No, not to the death. Our main character has recently enrolled in Ace Academy. You name this character yourself, so I won't refer to him by name. However, he and his sister have recently emigrated to Japan to live with their uncle, following the death of their parents. And the only thing our protagonist has left of his father is the gear that they built together. By any chance, does this gear hold some secret left for the protagonist? Maybe. Yeah, I'll be honest, this game does have quite a lot of cliches in it, but for the most part they are used reasonably well and they never annoyed me at any point, which kind of is the important thing. It doesn't take long for our protagonist to gain himself a team at school, consisting of 3 other pilots, a team manager, and a team engineer. And of this group of 5 people, 4 of them are female. And all 4 of those are romance options. Are they at least reasonably varied? Oh yeah, I mean there's the nervous one, the bossy one, the flirty one. Okay, I'll be honest, they all start off a little cliched, but it doesn't take too long for them to start developing solid, interesting personalities. And while the developers clearly started from a relatively simple character sketch, they fleshed them out very well over the course of the game, and I have no specific problems there. It's also worth noting that they actually feel like they have lives outside of the player, which is something that a lot of games don't manage. One relationship problem between 2 characters, for example, gets solved off-screen without any of your direct interference, which is actually kind of nice. You like not having to do anything? I love it, because it gives the world a much more lived-in feel. I also want to compliment this game on its antagonists, the opponents you face in the mech combat arena, because they're actually nice people. Too often, games like this fall into the trap of making your opponent in the school some kind of obnoxious bully that's completely over the top and easy to hate. But here, they're just other students. You can get along with them perfectly fine, and while they'd obviously prefer to win, they're not going to go on massive temper tantrums or try and destroy your life just because they lose, because they understand that there is more to life than this sport. So there is no obnoxious, completely unrealistic bully character? Nope, and that surprised me as much as it does you. Honestly, my only real problem with the story of this game is it doesn't quite feel finished. A number of plot setups have occurred that haven't actually been resolved by the end. And given that this game was originally released in pieces, episodic style, it feels like there's one more chapter still to go. Is that perhaps the developer's ambition overreaching their ability? Possibly, but I think it would be more accurate to say that time and money got away from them on this one. And frankly, I kind of hope that we can see a more definitive conclusion to this story in the future, and I'll definitely be keeping an eye on it to see if that's the case. Ultimately though, what's there is very, very good. It's very well written, it's very enjoyable, and overall, it's a pretty fun experience. The art is pretty good for the most part. The character designs are pretty good, and they're all reasonably distinct without being completely over the top and ridiculous. I'm also rather partial to the basic designs of the mechs, but I would have liked to see a little bit more of them. And this brings into my main issue with the art: there aren't enough CGs. While if you look in the extras menu there looks to be quite a reasonable number of them, there actually aren't, for the simple reason that you'll usually unlock 3 or 4 at a time, as they're all just slight variations on each other. And the ones we do have are good, but I would have liked to see more of them, especially for some of the major events. But honestly, if my main complaint about the art is that there isn't enough of it, that indicates that what we have at the moment is actually pretty good. Overall, I'm pretty happy with the audio. The music's reasonably nice, and the sound effects are decent, although the ones during the mech combat could do with a bit more punch, but honestly that's a fairly common complaint that I have, especially involving games with large-scale combat like that. This game is also a very rare specimen for a visual novel, in that it actually has full voice acting for all the main characters and almost all of the minor ones as well, although they clearly repeat several voice actors across various minor characters, but that's not too big of a problem. The main voice cast are actually pretty good for the most part, and they all manage to imbue their characters with just the amount of life and personality. Valerie's voice actress in particular is really good at making the character sound like she's flirting with you, even when she's discussing engineering, which absolutely works for the character and is actually very, very difficult to do. The only downside to this that I could see is that it means your character name will never get said in dialogue, which can feel a little odd on occasion and sort of makes it feel like everybody's forgotten your name and is too polite to comment on it. But ultimately, it works for the most part, and that's a very, very minor quibble in the grand scheme of things. So overall, I'm very happy with the audio. So, did I enjoy Ace Academy? Yes, I did. Should you buy it? I think I'm perfectly happy to recommend this one, and without any major caveats either. There are 4 romance options, it's of a reasonable length, there's a decent amount of replayability, and it's very well written and very enjoyable. With a little bit more time, a little bit more money, and a little bit more opportunity, I think this developer could create something really, really special, and I hope that they have the opportunity to, and I look forward to playing whatever they produce next, because this is another developer in which I see serious, serious potential. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to get back to a tropical island paradise with everybody's favourite psychotic teddy bear. I will see you later.